It's good morning, Marie Varkas. Thanks for joining us at Yellow Shelf.
Thanks, Vakakis.
Vakakis, I beg your pardon. Thank you for joining us here at Yellow Shelf. Marie, tell us all about your wonderful podcast, This Complex Life. And the truth is, yes, life is very complex. And that's one of the things I love about your podcast, the fact that, you share so much about this. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so it's a podcast where I have a range of solo episodes and guest episodes all around sort of mental health and relationships. So my background is I'm a mental health social worker and family therapist, and I'm also a couples therapist. And I wanted to kind of have conversations with people that were doing things either a little bit differently or just explaining maybe common questions or concerns that people have in a way that brings a bit more, I guess, intentionality to those conversations or a bit more depth to those conversations. So, not as clickbaity and, misinformed or misguided as I see some other things. I see a lot of people out there who have absolutely no qualifications and put a lot of content out there that is very harmful or misguided. And so I was trying to do something different and yeah, tackle different topics. So I've had a series recently on parenting teens. At the moment, I'm working on something around couples and relationships. So I'm interviewing a range of different couples therapists as well as some solo episodes. And then I have a sort of Ask Marie segment where someone might send in an anonymous question and I kind of plan an episode around addressing that or answering some of those questions for folk.
Yeah. And look, I'm a parent. I have tweens, not teens yet, but it's really informative for me to kind of hear the topics that you talk about. You talked about some anxiety around Christmas and expectations and behavior. There's so much good content out there that you deliver through your episodes. You're up to 50 episodes. Congratulations.
Thanks. It was actually more. I had a former podcast called Inside Social Work when I was supporting social work students on placement, and I turned that into this
Oh,
complex life, and now I've split them back up again. So the count went from 100 and something back down to
oh, that's
zero.
okay.
Yeah,
It's
so we've got
really
the
interesting.
two different feeds, one for other mental health professionals, so that's more educational and how to work with some of those same presenting concerns or challenges in the field, and then the other is for general folk.
Yeah. And I guess you just sort of touched on what inspired you to create. You'd obviously been creating another podcast previously. Tell us anything more we need to know about you, Marie. Obviously you're qualified, but yeah, like this communication, how are you enjoying the world of podcasting and anything we need to know about you?
I find podcasting quite fun. I find it much more easier than writing. I'm not a very strong writer, so if I am going to write a blog post, I kind of need to dictate it. I remember doing most of my honours thesis or master's thesis just via dictation because I can talk and I can listen, and those interpersonal skills
Yeah.
are more comfortable, but writing is really, really hard. Um, but also the people I get to chat to, so I get to learn. So every topic that I talk about, I've researched. Sometimes it's, the journal articles research, or I don't know if there's video with this, but my bookshelf is covered head to toe in books, and I've got another bookshelf at work, and so I get to synthesize my learning, understand it, write some dot points or some conversation topics or questions, interview guests. So one of my loves is learning. And I guess the flip side of that is educating. So I get to do that. I get to digest all of this stuff, distill it into something, put it out there, and I get to re listen to it. So every episode, just like I really embed that knowledge in me and
Yes.
then I get to share that. So I really love that process.
Yeah.
And it's just really helpful that I'm in an industry where there's endless amount to learn about well-being, relationships, mental health,
Yeah.
motivation, productivity, like the field of psychology and
Yeah.
mental well-being is huge. And that's not even just looking at mental illness. So there's endless things to talk about in the
Yeah.
human condition. And so that's fun. So I could keep doing this forever.
That comes across. That was the reason I sort of touched on that question. It really comes across, Marie. You're so natural at this. So should I be surprised that you had a spin-off podcast that became this podcast? And yeah, no, you're very natural at it. Marie, what's the best way to connect with you? If we're curious, if we're listening now, wherever around the world, I know you have a fabulous website, but how do we find you and your podcast?
Yeah, so the podcast is all on the all the different podcasting platforms, and I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn as my own name, so Marie Vakakis, and then I have the therapy kind of side of my business, which is the Therapy Hub Counselling on Instagram and .com.au as a website. So depending on the content and how someone wants to engage, so I don't do therapy under my own brand; that's all under the Therapy Hub. And then anything that's related to like workplace training, mental health first aid. I go into counsel sometimes around tuning into teens. I have my own program, all the on demand stuff, all of that educational bit sits under my name. So probably LinkedIn is where I'm most
Yep.
active. I think that's a little less clickbaity. But, I still kind of
Yeah,
hang out
you can
on
be
some of the,
found.
yeah,
Yeah.
some of the other stuff too.
Look, I will put that in the show notes. Marie, thank you so much for joining us and sharing about your podcast, This Complex Life.
No worries.
Take care.